great conversation. Dan, you did an excellent job piloting the ship today. I was actually on vacation recently last year in Korea, and I love history, and so we were visiting a bunch of castles, historic castles in Korea and South Korea, and we entered one, and in the sort of main hallway of the castle was this woman dressed in traditional costume, and she was playing the harp, the traditional Korean harp, and it was beautiful. We were listening to it, and as we approached, she actually had a little sign on her traditional dress that said she had a National Historic Designation as a living national treasure for playing that artistic harp. And when I think about you, Dan, today, and your skills in running a conference, you are a living national treasure. So thank you, Dan, for a great job. Appreciate it. Now, we've got 3 things before we wrap up today, just 3 things. I'm first going to summarize some of the key ideas that we heard about what's working and what's not in retailing. Second, I'm going to give you a quick update on the latest news for the CardLinx Association. And last but not least, I do want to thank a few people that made this day possible. So let's go right to the slides, and I want to start with what's working and what's not. Before, though, I jump into that, there are a few people that I do want to recognize. These are a few of our newest members to the CardLinx Association. As you guys know, you're part of a network, and every additional node on that network creates exponential value in the network. So here are some of the new members. Rewards Network, sitting over here, Dan Kazin and Hunt Kingsbury. One of the oldest, most successful companies in the card linking industry. Lucky Cycle, Jens Verheest from Belgium is here. If you guys don't know about Lucky Cycle, just go to luckycycle.com. You'll be amazed what you see. Gamification of checkout. Sitting right in front of me are Tom and Pam Cooper from Boosterville, the latest members of the association. We just announced their new membership. Thank you guys. You guys have been to our conferences before, but it's great to welcome you to your first conference as a member. So thank you for being here. In addition to that, Capital One, one of the top 5 largest banks in the US, has joined. Orico, which is one of the top 3 largest banks in Japan, has just joined. Ginny is just joined. Now, Ginny is special because it is our first member based in China. So believe it or not, we didn't have any Chinese members up until now. We're like slowly, methodically making our way west and east. Just to give you a sense of the number of countries involved in the CardLinx Association, I just did a quick informal list. South Korea, Japan, Iceland, Germany, Canada, the United Kingdom, right here from Russia, Belgium, and Switzerland, just to name a few. So the network that you belong to is growing very rapidly around the world. So what did we learn today? Let's take a quick look. We started out the day talking about how retail is changing. We also tried to focus on what are some of the key things that are working and not working. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but what I did is summarize some of the key recurring ideas that kept on coming up over and over again. Working, personalization with data. The age of ads of one size fits all is over. It's all about personalization. We talked a lot about the data that you can use for personalization, location data, spending data, and we also talked about the fact, in fact, the only member company, the only company that's not a member that was actually mentioned more than any of the others was Amazon today. And you remember that slide I showed, 2,000 stores they're opening while other large merchants are closing stores. That's all because of the personalization they do with data. Number 2, algorithmic advertising, using data to place advertisements at the right place at the right time. That was referred to many times as programmatic advertising. 3, attribution for card linking. It turns out that for the channel that we talked about the most today, the key thing that drives the most value for merchants is being able to attribute and close the loop. And that's working very, very well. We saw many examples of that. Empire, Accentus, the list goes on and on. And finally, consumer adoption of card linking. Now this is a big one, right? Because up until very recently, in fact, the association is just over 3 years old, but up until very recently, that was actually a big question mark. Would consumers adopt card linking? We've definitively answered that with millions, tens of millions of consumers using card linking in the US and increasingly around the world. We saw the scale that was shared with programs like Yelp, 167 million users. We just saw Brandon's presentation with nearly 10 million consumers. So the consumer adoption is here. Now clearly that was led initially by the issuers of cards, but we're seeing a lot of that consumer adoption now being done by non-bank publishers of offers. So that's the list of things that's working. But alas, we got some work to do ahead of us. Things are not working. One size fits all, print, digital ads. And notice I mentioned both print ads and digital ads, because a lot of the ads out there are just targeted to everybody that's online without any differentiation. And so the task before us is to share with merchants the fact that there's a better mousetrap, because this does not work anymore. Secondly, attribution for in-store purchases. The thing that's most amazing to me about our industry, about card linking, the thing that is most amazing to me is that many of you walk into a merchant and say, I've got a better mousetrap. It's going to enable you to link the consumer online to an in-store purchase. And then the merchant starts asking questions, well, how does it work? You know, how long does it take for me to get it up and running? And you can go through the conversation, eventually you sell them. But the reality is, the majority, 99% of their advertising budget is going to ads that have no attribution whatsoever. That's what we're competing against. We're competing against the print ad, we're competing against the online ad that has no attribution. You heard the quote, I can't remember who put it up today, 50% of my advertising is wasted. I just don't know which 50%. That's true for almost every other advertising channel that the merchants use today. And yet, we're arguing with them about little tiny things about that might not perfectly work with card linking. So attribution for in-store purchase is not working for the vast majority of retailers out there, particularly the bricks and mortar ones, and card linking fixes that. And third, and this was one of the biggest ones for me today, we have more consumer demand for card-linked offers than we have merchant offers, right? Almost half of our presenters, I kept a tally, almost half of our presenters talked about that. They have a lot of consumers that like card-linked offers, that they want to receive card-linked offers, but we don't have enough merchants providing them. You know, I'm thinking maybe I should start a merchant business because this is a great channel. Maybe only go card link only. But think about that. There's a huge imbalance today. Millions, tens of millions. I think probably in the next 3 years we're going to be approaching 1 billion consumers that have demand for card-linked offers and are used to using them. And yet there's a shortage of supply of merchant offers. It's a big, big opportunity. So that's my summary of what's working and what's not. I'm sure you guys have yours as well. So next, I want to give you a quick update of what's going on in the CardLinx Association. This will just take a few minutes. I'm going to go fairly quickly here, but we've been super busy. Not only have we been growing, I mentioned this is our first US conference, but our first conference of the year was actually in Tokyo, Japan, which is a huge success. Roughly the same size as this one. I'll show you a picture in a moment. But I want to give you an update of what we're doing around the world to promote card linking and promote your businesses. And the biggest new update is our new mission statement. Now, when we launched the CardLinx Association, we decided to stay focused and narrow on the topic of card linking. But actually at a recent board meeting, actually our two most recent board meetings, we had a very, very long discussion among the board. And we said that we need to broaden the mission of the association. Card linking is an important online to offline technology, but it's not the only one. And if we forget about the fact that we operate in a broader global ecosystem, we might miss opportunities to help grow the companies in our membership. And many of you are not just card linking businesses. You guys are online to offline businesses. And as we saw very early on in the morning, even if you were just a card linking business or even if you were just a payments business, the fact is that's not going to be the case for much longer because all of these industries are converging into one. So this is our new mission statement, which was approved unanimously by the board, to promote the growth of online to offline commerce and card linking through industry, collaboration, interoperability, and standards. And the main change that I want you to see here is that we added to promote the growth of online to offline commerce. And so what that means for the companies in this room is increasingly when you see the new member announcements, they won't just be card linking companies, they won't just be payments companies, they won't just be merchants, but you're going to start to see a whole variety of new companies that are involved in online to offline commerce. As I mentioned this morning, next week I'm going to be in Germany speaking with BMW. They view themselves as a commerce company increasingly. In a few weeks after that, I'm going to be meeting with a number of the new consumer appliance companies that are basically developing new devices like the Fitbit. They view those Fitbits as commerce platforms. So we're going to see a lot more of those companies. The other thing that you're going to see from us are new services that make it easier to participate in the card linking ecosystem. I'm going to share with you an announcement on some of those right now, but there will be more, and we're really excited about working with you on these new services that make it easier to participate in this ecosystem. So this is our new mission statement. About 80% of you here are CardLinx members, but for those of you who are not, here are the 4 key things that you can expect from us. First, thought leader conferences. You're participating in one right now. We've expanded our program of CardLinx conferences around the world. Our next one, I'll show you in just a moment, is actually back in San Francisco, our home base. Technical and business standards. We continue to publish and convene technical work groups to develop standards. Those are all published on our website. Any of you who are launching new CardLink programs, don't do it unless you go to the standards, because it'll save you a lot of time and save you from duplicating a wheel that's already built. And then our best practices database and offer databases. All of the videos, all of the speeches, all the presentations that you saw today are online on our best practices database. And as a member, you have access to that 24/7. And then our most recent announcement in January, with the collaboration of Microsoft, we released our first platform for open source software. Microsoft is a founding member of the CardLinx Association, and they have made available their API for access to Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and First Data online through our website. And so if you're thinking about integrating with any one of those data providers, you don't have to build the code yourself. You just download it from our website. So these are the 4 key services available to you as a member. I mentioned a moment ago our first conference of the year in Tokyo, which is one of our fastest growing markets today. I mentioned earlier also that Tokyo is actually the 3rd largest economy, Japan rather, is the 3rd largest economy in the world. And you can see here our first conference in Tokyo, which was very well attended. We had basically all of the top banks in Japan, all of the top merchants, all of the top digital publishing platforms. Very, very successful. By the way, any of you who operate in that part of the world, go to our website because you'll get a lot of great insight there. That's actually Ken Hirschman from Rakuten, who sits on our board. He was actually sitting right in the back table there. You have to go back to San Francisco speaking to the conference. And this is our schedule of upcoming conference. Our next conference is going to be back at our home base, as I mentioned, in San Francisco, and it's going to be on the Internet of Commerce things. We heard the term mentioned several times today, the Internet of Things. Guess what? The killer app on the internet is commerce. And we're going to talk about how all these new internet-connected devices are really platforms for commerce. That's on April 26th. You can see some of the great companies keynoting: MasterCard, Microsoft, Verifone, Facebook, among others. And for those of you that are based in Europe, our next conference is in Zurich, Switzerland on June 28th. You know, traditionally we do our conferences in London in Europe. due to Brexit, we've decided to go to the continent. And so now we're going to be in Switzerland going forward. And then we're actually going to be in Chicago, the home base of Discover, for our last US conference of the year in September. Now, earlier today, you guys heard about a product partnership that had its birth at one of these conferences. That was a partnership around Pay with Points with FIS and Verifone. But what I want to share with you is that's not a one-off, right? These are all the recent deals. Actually, this is not all of them. This is a few of the recent deals that have been hatched at conferences like this one. Rakuten and Linkable Networks. Actually, Ken Hirschman was here, the CEO of Linkable Networks. Tom Burgess was sitting at this table. They are the ones who launched the Rakuten in-store offers network together. MasterCard, another one of our members. Thanks again. Samsung Pay and Coupons.com, Verifone, Verifone First Data, and FIS and Verifone as well. And I'm looking forward to our next conference where we get to announce the deals that started here today. So one of the key aspects of being a member is access to this network for the purposes of product development. And I'm going to throw down, shame on you if you don't do a deal today, right? Because you got everybody in the room, right? So don't leave here today without doing a deal with someone in this room. I'm going to skip over the Best Practices Center and the software because you've got that. But I do want to announce two key new services, particularly for those of you who are in the process of launching your new CardLinx program. One of the things that often happens to the association is we get asked to do consulting for our member companies. As you know, we're an association, so we're not really geared up to do that. But what we are geared up to do is to disseminate knowledge around best practices. And so we're announcing a new program called CardLinx User Guides. From now on, all of the most frequently asked questions that we get in association, you'll just be able to go online and watch a video or download one of these user guides and get the answer. This is one around picking a CardLinx technology provider, but there are many more of those available on the Best Practices Center. So that's a new service that we're implementing starting April 1. The other key service, which is going to be very interesting to you, is our new CardLinx certification program. A key part of what we do is standards, but many of you want to work with other providers that actually understand the CardLinx standards. So the way to do that is to create a housekeeping seal of approval for companies that actually are operating according to the CardLinx standards, which again are purely voluntary. And so we've launched this certification program again effective April 1. And so what you'll start seeing, and some companies have already done this, they actually, you'll see in their signature block, they'll say, name, title, the logo of their company, and it'll say CardLinx member company. Well, increasingly, you're going to see companies that say CardLinx certified in their signature block. And that's a way to know that that company has been through a certification program and is going to be a good and standard compliant member. So that's it. That was pretty quick, huh? You guys still awake? All right. One more thing, just a few more things. I do want to say a few key thank yous, but before I do that, everybody has at their seat a yellow form, right? So this is an evaluation sheet that we ask you to fill out at every one of our conferences. And you know that the format of our conferences keeps changing a little bit. We try to improve it every time. And the way we do that is based on the feedback that you give us here. So please fill this out front and back. The front is an eval of the conference. The back is an industry survey which we perform every year and then publish out back to our members. So please take 5 minutes to fill that out. And then as you leave, hand it to either Esther or Kathy, and you're going to get a gift. Now, you know I'm a gadget guy, right? Because every one of our conferences, we always have a new gadget for you. So the new gadget you get when you fill out your form is this. Now, I know this looks just like a regular little pen, but it's actually more than that. Look at this. Boom, it's a light. It's a light. And the other side actually is a stylus. So for all of you guys that use tablets. And it's actually just a regular pen as well. So get that on your way out for filling out your survey. We really appreciate it. And you'll get this little gadget. All right. Now, I'm going to embarrass a few folks because I want them to stand up. CardLinx is a nonprofit association, and our board is entirely made up of member volunteers. These are people that contribute their time to come to our conferences, to meet at our board meetings 4 times a year, and we're really privileged to have an amazing board of directors. And so I'm going to ask the board of directors members that are here just to stand, and if you could give them a big hand, because many of them were presenters today, but they spend a lot of time making sure that we're pushing forward the industry. So first, I'd like to ask John Carter, the CEO of Empire. Let's give him a hand, our board member. Thank you, John. Sitting right next to him, Cassie Battelle of FIS. Dale McCrory of First Data. Is Steve Van Fleet still here? Okay, he's outside. He took it seriously. When I said, shame on you if you don't do a deal, he just like bolted out the door. He's going to do a deal. Steve Van Fleet, who just recently joined our board. John Silver of Affinity Solutions, is he? Okay, he's outside doing a deal. He was the one with the closing binders, actually, just outside. John Silver is here. Arvind Ranta from Discover. Let's give him a hand. And Brandon Logston, sitting right in front of me, our keynote anchor of Accentus. And then Sato Suzuki, who's brave. He was our first non-US member. He represents SMCC, which is the 2nd largest bank in Japan. He just recently joined our board, but I saw him just step out. If you need to know anything about CardLinx, if you have suggestions about things that we can do better, feel free to reach out to me directly, but also our board members. And I am really privileged to have an amazing board. Last but not least, we have an incredible team here at the CardLinx Association. You guys know, well, most of your businesses do conferences periodically from time to time, and so you know how hard it is to put these things together. So first I want to thank Esther Shin, who's sitting in the back. She's our CardLinx membership manager. Thank you for your great work today. You're pretty fast. I saw you get across from one side of the room to the other with the microphone pretty fast without running shoes on. Thank you, Esther. And for any of you guys who have any questions about membership, please feel free to reach out to Esther. And last but by no means least, Kathy Lee, our meeting manager. Let's give her a great hand. Brought companies from 3 continents here today to land in Dallas, recruited all of you, and we're really blessed to have her on the team. So thank you very much. And last but not least, for each of you, I'm incredibly thankful for your time. We know it's a huge, huge ask to ask you to spend a day out of the office in conversation. We take that responsibility very, very seriously, and my sincere hope is that you found today valuable. So thank you very, very much for today. We thank you for your support. We're going to go outside and have a few drinks together, just straight down the stairs in the living room area. But thank you very much for today, and I hope you all have safe travels home. God bless you. Thank you.